Good afternoon. Welcome to PCI's webinar series. Today's presentation is driving real-world value from model to precast concrete. This webinar is sponsored by Edge Software. My name is Nicole Clow, Marketing Manager at PCI, and I will be your moderator for this session. Before I turn the controls over to your presenters for today, I have a few introductory items to note. The PDF of today's presentation is available now and can be found in the handout section located near the bottom of your GoToWebinar toolbox. If you cannot download the handout, please email PCI Marketing at marketing@pci.org as shown on your screen. Please note that all attendee lines are muted. The GoToWebinar toolbox has an area for you to raise your hand. If you raise your hand, you will receive a private chat message from me. If you have a question, please type it into the questions pane where I'll be keeping track of them to read to the presenters during the Q&A period. Also, a pop-up survey will appear after the webinar ends. Today's presentation will be recorded and uploaded to the PCI e-Learning Center. Questions related to specific products or publications will be addressed at the end of the presentation. By registering for this event, you submit your information to the webinar organizer and sponsor, who will use it to communicate with you regarding this event and their other services. This presentation is non-CEU and not endorsed by AIA. Our presenters for today are Doug Turk, Chief Technology Officer at Edge Software, Trice Turner, International Business Development Manager at Edge Software, and Daniel Perrier, Sales Manager at the Progress Group. I will now hand the controls over to the presenters so we can begin our presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Trice Turner. As Nicole has mentioned, I am the International Business Development Manager for Edge Software, and we're happy to present this webinar to you today. At Edge Software, our mission is to empower precast producers with intelligent, integrated software solutions that drive efficiency, accuracy, and collaboration across every stage of the project's lifecycle. Our focus is on transforming what has been traditionally complex, fragmented processes into seamless digital workflows that deliver real value. We know the precast industry is under increasing pressure to deliver projects faster, leaner, and more sustainably. With this comes a rising demand for digital transformation, automation, and connected data to reduce errors and rework. Across construction, we're seeing a strong shift toward model-based processes that standardize and streamline workflows. That's where Edge comes in. Within the DIM space, design, engineering, and modeling, Edge serves as the central hub. With solutions like Edge CAM, we provide a platform to author complete DEM data directly within the model. This bridges design intent with engineering precision and production execution, enabling a seamless flow of information from concept all the way to the casting bed. In today's session, we'll show how our continued collaboration with the Progress Group brings this vision to life, delivering an integrated model-to-production workflow that helps precast producers stay competitive in an evolving industry. To expand more on this, I'll now turn it over to Doug Turk, who will walk us through Edge in more detail and share some of its most impactful capabilities.
Thanks, Trice. I'm Doug Turk, as introduced before, Chief Technology Officer for Edge Software. I've been working on Edge in some capacity for just about the last 10 years. And like Trice said, I want to walk you through some of the ways that Edge really builds better data into your models and eventually facilitates getting those out into the real world. So what I'd like to highlight first is some of the bigger tools that we offer to make your modeling process easier. And one thing that I always like to say about Edge is that it's built by the industry for the industry. In partnership with PTech Engineering, we've developed this suite of tools both for our benefit in-house and for the benefit of the industry at large. So starting with some of the modeling tools that we provide. We have built the suite around many use cases that we've seen throughout the industry. One of the biggest functionalities that we offer is our mark verification feature. This tool allows the user to name all precast products within their model based on criteria that they have configured for the producer that they're working with. With this tool, you can compare hardware locations and properties, you can compare raw geometric data, and you can ensure that all of your pieces that are marked the same are the same. Once you have your marks set up, we provide a comprehensive suite of assembly tools. These tools allow the user to better define what constitutes their pieces. This tool will analyze your piece, check all solid intersections, and find hardware, assign it location and form, and give it all of the properties that you need to build better tickets. This tool ensures that you have built your model to spec and that you have made less mistakes by automating these processes. Additionally, with the assembly suite of tools, we provide functionality for copying of reinforcement between similar products. Based off of a master ticket, you can duplicate all reinforcing from strand to rebar, mesh, wire between those pieces and get a head start on building out reinforcing for those pieces. Additionally, we provide a utility called the Ticket Manager. The Ticket Manager allows you to track the life cycle of the precast products within your model through the ticket creation process and beyond. You can see when the piece was reinforced, when tickets were created, when they were flagged as detailed, and who was responsible for each step of this process, just in case something goes wrong. Another big modeling feature that we provide, specifically useful in our industry as we work on a lot of parking garages and systems that need proper drainage, is the automatic warping tool. The automatic warping tool works together with the edge content to automate the tedious process of warping your beams across bays in your structure. By placing spot elevations at different defined levels in the model, you can control the exact offset and warp of all of your double T's and beams within that model. And I'm not going to go through every edge tool that we provide here, but I do want to highlight a couple of the more advanced functionalities that we offer. Specifically, I'd like to cover some of the things that we do for reinforcement and some of the things that we do for insulation. These features provide a boost to efficiency that avoids some of the more tedious and time-consuming steps in the process and really builds better data into the model. That is our primary goal here, is to really enrich the model and create this sole source of truth that provides counts, that provides data, that provides geometry that you can use in and outside of the model. So first, with our rebar marking utilities, we provide a setting system that's comprehensive and provides customization options to where you can actually define different marking schemes for all of the different producers you work with. You can define prefixes, suffixes, different marking options. There are many different customizations, and you can actually save different ones for each producer you work with, as well as you can see here on the slide, standard rebar settings where you can define specific bends and specific names for that bend in your configuration. This is invaluable for the purposes of scheduling. This is useful for all kinds of different things and saves a lot of tedium and a lot of possibility for mistakes by taking it fully out of the drafter's hands and putting it into Edge's hands. Additionally, we provide a suite of insulation tools. These range from insulation marking, which, similar to the mark verification tools and similar to the rebar marking tools defined before, provides an automated naming scheme for your insulation, comparing geometric information within tolerances that you have defined ahead of time. We will name insulation either at the project scale or at the piece scale, as well as we provide options for automated panelization in insulated walls, as you can see there on the side. You can configure offsets and default sheet sizes for this system as well. Again, all of these facilitating the idea of creating better models, better data with minimal input. And then finally, we also provide insulation drawing and export options. You can see here the insulation drawings outputs. We generate line work that's fully annotated and marked up so that you can have a one-stop shop for seeing all of your insulation details for the project. And then likewise, we provide an export for this data as well to go to common CAD formats such as DWG or DXF. Again, there's a lot more tools that Edge provides for modeling, but I want to just highlight some of the ways that we build that better data into the DNA of your model. Beyond the modeling step and more gently nudging toward the production step, I'd like to highlight some of the Edge ticketing features. We have over time produced a robust set of ticketing tools centered around a ticket template system, originally developed with PTAC's use case in mind. We worked with a lot of different manufacturers, created a large library of ticket templates, and using the Edge tools, we were able to set up view configurations, schedule positions, how we want to stack bombs, annotations, all kinds of different options saved straight to a settings file. And then from that file, we can use the other Edge ticketing tools to actually populate that information straight onto the ticket. As you can see here, one of our biggest core features of the ticketing suite is automatic ticket generation. And what that utility provides is automatic dimensioning, automatic callouts, and population of the template defined above, creating a sort of one-click ticketing option. But we know that the computer is not always going to get it right. So we understand that people are going to run auto ticket on their master tickets and then create embellishments, modify things, possibly delete some dimensions, move things around. And then once they have that how they like it, we've provided a newer tool called Clone Ticket. And what Clone Ticket will do is it will take the customization that was done in the initial ticket and then map it to your target assemblies, whether it's 1-to-1, 1-to-5, 1-to-100, you can copy that ticket out to like pieces. And the detailing and annotations that are created by Clone Ticket are fully dynamic. Counts will update, schedules will reflect the new piece, annotations will update if they're set up as tags. The idea being that you only have to do this work once for your master and then use Clone to solve the rest. Moving on, now that you've built your model with all this good data, you've built your tickets out, everything is set up and ready to go, you need to find a way to export that data out of the model and get it to the production team. There's a lot of different ways that we assist with this. This has always been a priority of Edge's development, is, as the topic of this webinar would suggest, pulling that data out of your model and getting it into the real world, removing it from that data silo, and making sure that the model is built to the highest possible standard and that standard is reflected in the outputs. So over the years, we've provided a lot of different exports, some custom development for specific customers, some baked into the standard Edge product. I'd like to highlight a few of those here, specifically emphasizing Edge for CAM, which we'll get to in a minute. So first and foremost, we provide one solution called Edge for ERP. It is not shown here in a screenshot, but what it does is it actually will export piece, assembly, and hardware data from the model to an easily consumed CSV or Excel format. This was originally developed in conjunction with Concrete Vision, so it's out of the box compatible with that system if you happen to use that. But a lot of different people have adapted it to other use cases because it does provide a very simple Excel file that can be consumed in many ways. This is currently set up as an add-on that can be attached to the Edge suite and can be provided to people who may not even be running Edge if you need to get exports from their machine. Moving to more of the model data exports, the two that I'd like to highlight are the CAD and CAM exports. So the CAD export is fairly self-explanatory, but what it's going to let you do is select your piece assemblies and export them to commonly used AutoCAD formats such as DWG or DXF. It's going to export certain predefined categories in ways that you have some customization and control over. We actually provide a settings schema where you can set up different layer names, different colors, how you want hardware to come out. Should it be a bounding box? Should it be line work? There's a plethora of different customization options to make sure that your outputs match your use case. And you can actually enable and disable different layers within that if you only need certain information, or if your use case just doesn't need some of the extra stuff that we send out. This is a tool that we are currently actively adding new features to, and when we release our next build of Edge later this year, there will be some additional support for other categories. So this is something that we really are evolving on constantly. Additionally, I'd like to highlight the Edge for CAM export. So the Edge for CAM export was built fairly early on in Edge's lifecycle with the intent of supporting a lot of different automated machinery applications. The big one obviously being our friends at Progress Group, who will be speaking to you in just a minute. So in pursuit of that, we supported the Progress Group PXML format, as well as the other commonly used format of Unitechnic's UXML format. And what this will actually do is it will export information for the concrete routing, it'll export information for blockouts, it will export mount parts for your different plates and hardware going into the piece, and it will also export bend information for bars, as well as other parameters and data that feed into various different machinery applications. So this is really another way of taking that data, taking that model that you've built using the other Edge tools and bringing it out into the into the real world, into these production scenarios. Again, highlighting Edge for CAM, I've created a short video just demonstrating the functionality of the tool and showing the export coming straight out of the model. Daniel will be covering a lot more about how that export gets consumed, but I wanted to just kind of show a quick demonstration of how that works. And we have built this in conjunction with Progress Group to make sure that it's compatible with their Ahead Suite environment. And we also have controls within the tool to where these exports can be sent out and updated and overwritten throughout the process of the model, just in case something goes wrong where exports need to be resent out. Again, I think that's kind of the gist of our exports. At this point, I think I would like to go ahead and bring it over here and transition to our next speaker. And I will let him take the screen, I think.
Yeah, thank you, Doug. So as introduced before, my name is Daniel Perrier from Progress Group. Perhaps some of you already know us from our machine department, as the Progress Group in the big portion of our business is producing and supplying different kind of machinery for the precast industry. For example, mesh bending or stirrup bending and welding solutions, full carousel systems, but also mainly in the US, a lot of different technologies like plotters, extruders, slip foamers for long bed and tilting table production. But today, I would like to also show you and explain you a bit what we are doing in the area of software development, specifically around our planning and scheduling solution, the Ahead Suite, which you can see here is an integral part in a precast company, which is consuming, like Doug explained before, all of that exported CAD data, where we have then the exact 3D model of how the elements should be produced with all the details and the components within it. And we can, with that information, we can then do a very detailed delivery, production, and warehouse planning upfront, while then also forwarding and feeding that to all kind of different machinery that you may have in the factory, so that we can achieve a very high level of optimization in the factory. And in a later moment, once elements have been produced, shipped, that we can also forward all that kind of information to also finance systems like SAP, Microsoft Dynamics, and so on. So in general, what is the Ahead Suite? It's a web-based application where we put a lot of focus on being able to have a modular approach. So it really depends on what is your goal for a software solution, what is your scope, but we can almost hear from all of different kind of functionality that we have, do like a cherry picking and build a tailor-made precast solution for you with different kind of functionalities, from the scheduling and planning parts to precast, also supporting full rebar shops with workload providers, material tracking, and also all kind of ERP functionality, creating delivery notes, purchase management, as well as also invoicing. So it really has to be seen what kind of functionalities you need, and we can build a tailor-made solution for that. The basic idea at the end of the day is that the head suite should function as a central hub system for the digital twin, not only of the individual elements, but the entire projects that you're building. I show now in this presentation a few of the highlights of those kind of functionalities that we have here. For sure, one of the first ones is our CAD management tools. So this is really the first module that is receiving the data that we have seen before, that is exported, for example, by Edge with from the Revit solution, so from your CAD system, where you have the exact geometry of how the elements look like, with also the entire bill of material, all the components that will be built in, that will be required, so that you can already have that information to, for example, steer the procurement of those raw materials. With that, we emphasize always that for us a big focus is to use those 3D models to really have a model-based workflow. So also all of our functionality are heavily driven by that data. So for example, in our stack planning and delivery planning solution, where we can use again these details to have a better understanding of which elements we are going to ship together, what is the maximum weight that we can ship, how we can stack and combine elements on the truckload, so that we can better plan which elements in a later moment we want to keep together also during the production. Out of that, we can then also create delivery documents with pictures, with other additional information, completely customized to your layouts. And that is then also an important point for our production planning here. For example, I've put in a screenshot of our layout planning. It's a much more advanced solution. So where you don't not only plan when and where, on which work centers I'm going to produce, on which days I'm going to produce the elements, but also do the exact detailed layouts. So in which specific position I'm going to produce that element, because often it's very important to plan how I can combine the elements. For example, if I'm talking also about what we do a lot in Americas, the pre-stressed hollow cores, there are a lot of different things to consider, the different strand patterns, the cross-section types, if they all are compatible with each other. And then with that information, we can then feed in a later moment also a lot of different machineries, like explained in the beginning, plotters, laser systems, extruders, and any other kind of machinery, as well as provide them also with the details of the reinforcement that needs to be produced. But that's not everything. So like here, I explained also the factory interfaces, so what we can integrate. A lot of the machineries can also be supplied by the Progress Group itself, but we of course then support all kind of different suppliers from different equipment. And what we recently developed is also some AI camera systems that take pictures of how the elements are currently positioned, and then with AI components is verifying if different mount parts, different electrical sockets, reinforcement, and so on is correctly placed or perhaps completely missing. And that's all based on the bed layouts and the 3D models that we received upfront. But not only that, we also do a lot of additions on a mobile application. So we have a dedicated application and devices for usage in the factory, on the stockyard, during transportation, and also directly on the construction site. For example, a functionality that is very important is to do a status tracking, so that I can scan QR codes, barcodes, and see the details of the elements, but also track in which state they are currently in. as well as very topic that is coming more and more is doing quality checks directly in the different steps of production, where you have the possibility to completely customize what kind of quality checks are for you important. Quality checks can be very simple. If I've done this, this, and this, or if you want to do some measurements, alphanumerical, numerical measurements, taking pictures, all that while also having over the mobile phone the possibility to review directly the shop drawings that, for example, have been created upfront by the Edge system. And all of that information at the end also with the feedbacks from the machinery, with the feedbacks from the mobile app, and whatever is happening on the stockyard, on the construction site, that's all feeding back into our head suite, where we have then also the full possibility to show in which state the current elements are in, that they also have a big overview about how your projects are moving along, if there are any kind of delays, or if anything needs to be adjusted, so that you can keep the ultimate goal, that is to deliver on time and to finish the project within the scope that was originally agreed. At the end of the day, like I said, the idea is that we can take all of that information in and create within the solution a digital twin of your entire projects. I've created also a very short video that I would like to show you. That is basically our demo system, where I've taken the model that also Doug prepared in Revit exported with the Edge, where I have imported that into our solution, where I can then review it as a project overview, a 3D model, do here then also some production planning. So here I'm creating now on some long beds. I see here again the 3D model of the data. I can then very quickly, by clicking through the elements, add them to our long beds based on, of course, predefined rules that are then customer specific. So the system is automatically calculating what would be the best possible solution if they need to be rotated or if they need to be positioned in any other way. So I can then also select a bigger size batch of elements and have the system then automatically calculate and do all the bed layouts, depending on what is my priority in the different terms of how can I optimize that in the best possible way. Of course, afterwards, I have then all the flexibility to do any kind of adjustments, move that around. Of course, with the 3D models, I have then also the full flexibility to review the exact positions with all the components that we were receiving from the Edge tool out of the CAD system, and can do very easily any kind of adjustments. And also, like we see here on the video, if I do any kind of misplacement as I've moved that perhaps a little bit outside of the bed, also the system is constantly doing any kind of checks if the positioning is valid, if the elements are also compatible with each other, and therefore can immediately warn me if there's any potential risks in that sense. So here then I see also the different states and can review in total the model again. And afterwards I have then the full possibility to create any kind of printouts if I want to provide a PDF or with a bed layout. Of course, that has then to be seen. What is how the look of the printout needs to be done, and I can do then a detailed planning of when exactly do I want to produce that bed layout. So I see also while I'm doing that what other kind of beds have already been scheduled on the specific day. So when is the next available date that I can produce them, as well as always keeping in mind what is the earliest delivery date for all the elements that I've put on that bed, because I have here the full flexibility also to add elements from different projects. Doesn't need to be from the same building, doesn't need to be from the same transport unit. So I can have here the full flexibility to do any kind of combinations, whatever I want to do in the factory. And I've also here done very easily with a calendar overview the possibility to do planning and shifting the bets then around the different calendar days and to review again what is the bet layout in itself. You can do here very quick adjustments then. I will skip here a bit as I would like also to show you the mobile application. So I opened it here as well as on browser, but you can imagine as if that would be on a phone web, then the possibility to review the details of an element, change the status of that, have here then also the quality checklist, let's set. That is very something simplistic. We can then also take pictures. Here I opened the web camera from myself, but just like that, with the mobile app, I can then do any kind of very customer specific quality checks, do status updates, and move along the production steps in the factory. I have also here then some storage possibilities where I can save also GPS coordinates, let that see again on the map. So also see then here the Google Maps who here, as you can see, our headquarters that is located in Italy was used as a GPS coordinate, but just like that, I can all do that information as well as any other kind of transfers for our storage map directly with our mobile application and review that in real time then later as well, not only in the mobile app, but also in our Ahead Suite solution, where that gives me then a big benefit that after I've placed the element and put them on storage, that I can also very quickly search where they have been placed. And that is all going back to one system in the end where we have all the details of our projects, of our buildings. And like I see here, everything that I did now in those 5 minutes, I can also review in our project management tool where I see the different states, the different colors here indicating the different states of the individual elements, and have at the end of the day a digital twin of my complete projects within our solution. Like I said, this is now very on a high level. There are a lot of different other functionalities for rebar producers, for other kind of production capabilities. Just wanted to give you a very quick highlights of what we can do in our software solution, all based on the 3D data and the total information that we can extract from the CD solutions. So that's a bit from our side. I think next up, I don't know, Trice or Doug, if you wanted to do the key takeaways.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much, Daniel, and also Doug for your presentation. As we close today's session and move on to Q&A, I want to reflect on a few key takeaways. Edge empowers precast producers with intelligent integrated software built specifically for the precast concrete environment. By putting connected data at the center of the process, our export tools and ERP integration ensure that model data flows seamlessly into production, scheduling, and machine automation formats, such as Progress Group's PXML. The result is a streamlined model to production workflow, one that reduces mistakes, improves collaboration, and ultimately helps precast producers stay competitive and deliver real world value. On behalf of Edge Software and the Progress Group, I do want to thank you for joining us today. We do look forward to continuing the conversation and supporting your journey toward a smarter, more connected precast future. And now I want to turn it over to Nicole for Q&A.
Perfect. Thank you to our three presenters for a great and informative presentation. We did have a few questions that come through. So our first question is, has anyone done a survey of our US producers to learn like what percentage are using some form of shop floor automation?
That's a good question. I am not aware of that data, or at least I don't have the statistic memorized necessarily. I mean, I can say that we've worked with a fair chunk of producers who are at least exploring it. I mean, I know several current Edge customers and a handful of prospects have expressed interest. I don't have specific numbers though. I just know that it is, in the time that I've been here, it's been a growing interest over the years.
Perfect, thank you. Our next question is, does a head suite support RFID or some form of tagging pieces for locating them in the yard?
We have done that with another legacy solution in the past. At the moment, we don't have that functionality in the head suite because our approach there is more that, like we've seen in the video, that we create a map of the stockyard, and then with the mobile app that you can either allocate an element to a storage bin, a storage location in that map, or with the GPS save the last known position of the element, simply because that reduces a lot of costs for all of those RFID tags, as you are very flexible also to change the mappings, and are with basically no hardware costs except the mobile phones or tablets. You can do all kind of tracking of the elements in the stockyard without the need of the RFID tags.
Perfect, thank you, Daniel. That's all the questions that have come through so far. I'll give it a few more seconds, but during that time, you can, if you're going to PCI committee days next month, so in a few weeks, you can stop by Edge Software and Progress Group to talk to them more about their software pieces. As I haven't seen any more questions come through, once again, on behalf of PCI, I'd like to thank Trice, Doug, and Daniel for a great presentation. If you do have any further questions about today's webinar, please email marketing@pci.org. Thank you again and have a great day.